Hello, welcome to another edition of Delta Media Group's Tech Tuesday. We're getting a little bit of a late start today because, as you can see, we're having a bit of a camera issue that's producing. There we go. I don't know what's doing it. So we're just going to drop into the Delta Net and we're just going to go straight into it. Why not, right? We're fine. We can handle little issues. Let's do it. See, like magic, it went away. So today we are going to go over Open House Connector. And I know we've done a few Open House Connector videos over time, but we keep adding things to it. We keep making it better. So as long as we keep making Open House Connector better, I'm going to keep doing new videos for it. So first and foremost, to get into Open House Connector and get it all set up, we are starting here in the welcome page in the DeltaNet. I am going to go down to Listings and then down to Open House Connector. There we go. Now, if you have never turned it on before, you will see the screen that I'm looking at now. It just says Enable Open House Connector, and when you click it, it basically sets up your Open House Connector account. So let me jump into an account that has it set up, now that you've seen where that button is. Our ever familiar Demo 2 account. And I'm going to go back down to Listings and Open House Connector. Now, once you hit that Enable button, the screen will change into this. So you'll see Open House Connector. You'll see this box over here that lets you, or gives you shortcuts to go and get the app. Or you'll see, well, not or, but and you'll see the Open House Connector login credentials. Now you need those to log into the app. So at this point, the app will now work in basically three different ways. First off, you have the App Store download. So that would be for any iOS device. Now keep in mind, it is built to run on tablets or a tablet-sized screen. So basically at least like I think it'll run on a 7.5-inch tablet, actually. I've never tried. But it should run on anything tablet screen or larger. So for this, it's basically asking you to download it on an iPad. The Google Play link lets you download it on an Android tablet. You can download it on an Android phone and it will work in landscape mode, but it won't be pretty. The size of the screen is just put together so that it formats well on a tablet. It doesn't do particularly well on a phone, even in landscape mode. It's just, it's just the way it is. But we have had some requests for kind of a mobile device version of it, like a phone version of it, not just any mobile device. So something that we're looking at. And then lastly, you can now use a web browser to actually run the app. This is pretty cool because if you don't have a tablet, either kind of tablet, either Apple or an Android tablet, you can just run it in a laptop web browser. So even if you had like a little Chromebook or just wanted to take your regular laptop to an open house and set it up, you can just run it in the web browser on that. So if I click that, you can see it opens up over here in a new tab, and then I'll log out of it so you can see kind of the login process also. But basically this is the app, so it loads up like this. And if you're using a setup similar to mine, so right now I'm using Chrome, I can go to View and I can remove this Always Show toolbar, and now here you go. Basically it's just the app. So it's kind of cool. Just another way that you can use it if you don't have those devices. The other thing that's nice about this is Open House Connector works offline. So it'll actually store all of your guest data locally on the machine, and then when it reconnects to the internet, it'll take all that data and push it into your DeltaNet. So that's one thing that is pretty cool about Open House Connector. So just to give you a little background, I'm going to put my toolbar back in there. To give you a little background of the purpose of Open House Connector, the idea is that it'll function as a sign-in form at your open houses. So you can take your device to your open house, customers can sign in with it, and it'll automatically store their contact information, whatever they give you, in your DeltaNet so that you have easy access to it, and you can start setting them up for things like all the different email marketing tools, send them e-cards, set them up for email campaigns and MCFL and all that stuff. So it just gets them into your DeltaNet. The other thing it does is it can either send them survey questions or ask them questions right there when they fill out when they go through the survey, when they go through the sign-up form. So when they actually sign up using the app, it can run through all the survey questions there as well. So that way you can get some feedback about your open house and stuff. So here we are. That's how you get into the app to begin with. Now, once you get the app open, you have here your DMG ID and your PIN number, and that's what you use as the login credentials for the app. So because I'm using a web browser, I could just copy and paste those. But if I were using a tablet, then I would have to actually type them into my tablet, and that would log me into my version of the Open House Connector, so that it knows what open houses to connect me to and knows what account to put all the signups into. All right, so before we go into the app itself, we'll go go over and take a look at all the different pages we have here. So the first one is the Open Houses tab. This shows you all the previous open houses you've done. You can see I did an open house for a gingerbread house. So, you know, I mean, it was festive. It was getting close to Christmas time. And this just lays out everything. You can see all your past open houses that you have used the app with. Now with these, you can also see this little person up here in the corner, as well as some of them have this little this numbered sprite here. And if I roll over it, you can see that's how many unimported guests I have from that open house. So this one, for example, there were 12 total guests. One of those was never imported. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that open house. So now I have some details about that. I can perform the guest import, where it would just import everybody. I can look here at my question overviews and see how everyone answered each of my survey questions. You can see I can expand each one to see how many people answered each way. And then I can go over to guest overview to see all the individual guests that signed up at this open house. And from here, I have this little sprite here, so this tells me which one wasn't imported. But I can also open up these individually, and it will actually show me what their response was on each question. So I can look at an individual attendee and look at their actual question responses. Now, if I wanted to import one that wasn't imported already, I can expand it, and then I have a button down here at the bottom to import that guest. This allows me to kind of pick and choose who I want to import. So that's kind of a cool thing you could do from the apps, or from the DeltaNet side for Open House Connector for the individual open houses and attendees. So we'll close that out. Now, if you were used to how Open House Connector worked before, you can see that this has changed up a little bit. So we used to just have a settings tab here. Now we have a separate one for the survey questions. So we'll go ahead and click on the survey questions. Now this is where I can customize my questions as long as that is turned on by the company. You can see this is a special question type. So limited to one represented by another agent. So what this does is when a question type, so in this case, this question's been defined by the company, so I can turn it on or off because that's what the company settings allow. I can also reorder these questions because in a lot of cases, that's kind of the most important question. Now the significance to the "are you being represented by a real estate agent" question is that if they answer yes to that, and you're set to send the survey to them after the fact or send an autoresponder to the customer, none of those things will go to the customer. So if they say that they are being represented by another agent, it basically turns off the autoresponder and the survey functionality for them, and it doesn't import them either. So that way it keeps you from importing people that are working with other agents. So that is our new special question type there. In this case, one has been built by the company, so like I said, I can turn that on and off as per the company settings. But if the company hadn't created that question for me, I could go here under New Question. I could put in a question however I'd like, and I could create a question of the represented by another agent type. So I could use that question type so that it has that behavior. Basically, if they answer yes, they don't get imported. But I could phrase the question a little bit differently, or phrase it however I want to. So that gives me the ability to do that. In addition to that, I can add any other question I'd like. So I can either add a select question. So I would put in my options here. This would be a single select question. So I would type out my question. And then I would type out the options that I want them to be able to respond with. And they can only choose one of those options. If I click on Allow Other, then they can choose one of those options and they can type in a little text response also. Now if I go to multi-select, this looks very similar, about the same way, except in this case they can select multiple responses. So single select, you can only select one. Multi-select, you can have as many options as you want here, and they can select several different options at once. And then lastly is text response. Works the same way, except they have a text box they can actually type their answer out in. So if I wanted to save that question, I would hit save, and that would add it to my question list. At that point, it would be just in this table, and then I could drag it back and forth to reorder it, or I could use this switch to turn it on and off. And then I can also click the preview button here to see what each of my questions will actually look like in the app. So in this case, we have a single select question, and this is what it actually looks like. Preview, so here's another single select question. Are you currently being represented by an agent? You see we just have a yes and no, because that's the only thing that really makes sense there. Take a look at one of my custom questions. Now this one is a single select, but it has that other option enabled, so they can click other and put in a text response. And then this one is a multi-select question. So you see you have the checkboxes, so they can go in and actually select multiple answers there. So there you go. That is how you put your questions together. Now, if we go over to settings, we have some options as to how guests are imported first off. So you have this auto import guests function. With this turned off, it doesn't import anything for me. That allows me to go into that screen we just looked at for the individual open house and choose which people I want to import. But if I turn this on, the system would automatically import all the guests except for the ones that answered that they were already working with another agent. Those would not be imported. Now, every time it does the import, it'll create a group in your Groups widget on your Customer Center page that will correspond with the address of the open house they came in on. So it'll say open house from this at this address. So you can keep the system actually will keep them organized that way for you. However, if you wanted to create a secondary group that all of your import, or basically all of your contacts that came in from an open house go into automatically, you can use this for that. So I've made open house connector contacts. Everything that this system imports, in addition to going into its individual open house group, will go into this group. Now the cool thing about that is you can take this group, so you create it ahead of time, and then you can go in and you can put that group in a campaign that you want to just send emails to people that have attended open houses. And it can be a whole action plan. So you can say, 14 days send them an email, and then another 7 days after that send you a reminder to give them a call, things like that. So it'll push them all into that campaign or action plan automatically, so that you can automatically start working with all those people that came in from an open house, because you might want to market to them in a specific way. So you would just put the name of that group in here and hit Save Changes, and that would save and import those guests that way. Now next we have our autoresponder. So what this will do is let you customize the autoresponder that goes out to any customer that signs up with the Open House Connector app. So you can customize the subject, you can customize the mail content a little bit. And then what you can also do is you can use this switch to turn on the survey questions in an email form. So what it does is, by default, with this turned off rather, all of the questions that we set up on the survey questions page will show up in the app. So I'll go into the app, I'll put in my name, my email address, I'll hit next, and then it will ask me the first question, and then the second question, third, until I get through all the questions. And then I hit save, it'll send me an autoresponder that says, thanks for coming to my open house, and everything that's said here. And then if I have them in a group and have that group in a campaign, it'll set up that campaign and everything for them also. Now, if I want to email the survey instead, so let's say I phrased my questions in a way that they don't really make sense to ask as someone is coming into the open house, but really they make more sense to ask after the fact, I can turn this on, and then the only thing they'll do with the app is they'll sign in with their name and email address, and then the survey will actually be emailed to them, so they can answer the survey questions that way. So that is what this switch does. With the switch off, it'll ask them the questions in the app, and with the switch on, it will email them the questions after the fact so they can answer them later. And now next here we have the open house summary report, and you can see a report will be automatically generated containing all of the guests that logged in through Open House Connector during an open house, as well as a summary of the survey results. So this just allows the system to kind of send you a summary of that, so you don't have to go in the DeltaNet and see what was imported right away. You can just get this survey email and it'll give you the information there. So there you go. That is, those are the configuration settings you have for the Open House Connector app at this point. And like I said, we're constantly coming in and enhancing this. But let's go into the app itself and take a look. So we have our login credentials up here at the top. I'm going to copy this because I'm not going to be able to type that in. Well, I mean, I could type it in, but why would I? That's what copy and paste is for. So I put in my my agent ID, and then that was just the PIN number that it gives me there. I got a million. There we go. So then I hit login. We'll give it a second. It takes me into the Open House Connector app. Now I can choose from my own open houses by default. So you can see this box is checked, so it's only showing me my open houses. If I uncheck that box, you can see it opens up to all the open houses in the company that are upcoming. So I can choose from a different open house. So by default, it's just going to show me my own listings. But if I am hosting an open house for a listing that belongs to someone else, I can still do that by just unchecking this show only my open houses box, and then I'll see the full list. What's more, I can narrow it down also. So if I go and start typing an address there, you can see it narrows down to just a specific listing. So if you have a lot of open houses coming up throughout the company in a particular weekend, and you're looking for one in particular, you don't have to go through and scroll through all of them. You can just type in the address and it'll take you straight there. So we'll say we want to do this open house, so we'll click on that one. Now we're basically ready to go. So if I had this on a tablet, you would just see this content portion of the screen, and I could set this tablet up, or I could present it to people as they come into the open house, and they could use it to sign in. If I were using a laptop like this, like I said, you can hide the toolbar if you're using something like Chrome, and then it'll look like this. So you can just present this to people and have them sign in. So the idea is that you set this up, or you present it to your guests, and they'll come in, they'll just hit sign in, they'll put in their name, my full name, they'll put in their email address, I didn't even spell email right, oh well, we'll make it. They hit next. At that point it takes them through and starts presenting them with the survey questions, because that is how my settings are put together. Otherwise, if I was set to send that survey email after the fact, then they would be done. They would have hit next, that would have saved them in their contact, and then they could move on and do what they do with the rest of the open house. So we'll go through here. Now I can answer each of these questions, and here's our multi-select. But keep in mind that I don't have to answer a question. So if I'm going through this survey, I can just hit save, save. If I don't want to answer a question, I don't have to. So we'll go through and answer all the questions. When it's all done, it just thanks you for registering. It gives you, or shows them your branding, your name and phone number there. Your company logo will actually be here. And then done, and now the next person can go in and sign in. So that's all there is to it as far as the customer side and the customer going in and using the Open House Connector app. Now the additional functionality we've added on the app side is if I go down here to admin, now you've always had the ability to leave feedback, and this is giving us feedback on the app, so that's what that is for. You've always had the ability to end the open house, so when the open house is all done, you'll go here and you'll hit end open house, and that'll take you out of the open house so that you can, so the app is all ready to go into a new one. And then also I can go up here, so this is our new feature, I can hit admin dashboard. Now it's going to ask me for my PIN number again, so we'll type that in, hit login. So now I have this little admin dashboard right here in the app. So in addition to just managing all these contacts through the DeltaNet, I can manage them right here in the app now. So if I have a lot of guests here, I can actually search for a guest by name, and it'll narrow down kind of the same way that the open houses themselves do, or the listings do, when you are choosing an open house in the beginning. But from these, I can actually choose them. If I'm not having them imported automatically, I can force import them from the app. So I don't even have to go into the DeltaNet. I can click here, I can see what all their survey question answers are, and then I can go here and hit import guest, and that'll basically queue this one for import. So if I'm not connected to the internet right now, it's not going to be able to import right now, but when it reconnects, it'll know to import this one. So that is something we've added just recently that really is designed to kind of simplify things for you, so that say you leave your open house, you don't want to have to go into the DeltaNet or go to a computer to get everything put together. You can just, after the open house is done, pick up your tablet or grab your laptop. Well, if you already have your laptop, you can go to the DeltaNet, I guess. But pick up your tablet in this case, go to this admin dashboard, go through each of your open house attendees and decide whether or not you want to import them. And you can see if you hit one that has answered that special question, are you working with another real estate agent? If they've answered that as yes, it automatically disables import, so you can't import that one. So there you go. Now to get out of this, I can end the open house from here, because it's kind of assuming at this point the open house is done, and that's why you're in the dashboard going through the attendees. But if it's not done, you can click return to survey, and that'll take you straight back into the open house. So there we go. Or I can hit end open house, which will do the same thing as this button. So we'll go back into the dashboard just so you can see it. There we go. So I can say end open house. It'll ask me to confirm. Yes, I want to end it. And now that open house is over. Now from here, if I'm using like a shared machine or anything, I would want to log out of the app also. But you wouldn't have to do that. If it's your tablet and it's not a shared machine, you could stay logged in all the time. And then all you'll have to do is open the app whenever you want. You'll already be logged in with those credentials. You'll be able to see all the open houses available to you, select it, and then you're all set up to use the app in the open house. So there you go. That is it. That is the Open House Connector and its newest updates there in a great big old nutshell. So I'm going to say as always, but there's no reason to switch the camera because the camera is still flickering on us. So you don't get to look at me today. I know, I'm devilishly handsome, but sorry, just have to wait till next week when we've got this particular issue squared away. So as always, thanks a lot for joining me. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to give us a call or email support@deltagroup.com, and we will walk you through whatever you need. Also, if you have any feedback or suggestions for things to add to Open House Connector or to anything else, please let us know. We're always interested in your feedback. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you again next week.